If you want me, if you need me, I'm yours.
What's up, people? Back again. Just making sure the audio is all good as usual. Sounds alright. So I added another source. You see in the top right, top left, I don't know, on your screen. It's like a. Let's turn down the music a bit. It's a bit loud for me. There you go. Let's try that. So I've been bored, innit? I'm still holding Sato, as you can see. Still looking at the chart, just like, oh god, what's gonna happen? But I just don't know if it's gonna dump or what's gonna happen with it. But I've got very little reason. Very little reason to feel like, yeah, it's gonna sell off. I mean, the circulating supply is the circulating supply, so whoever's holding it is PvP, and they're like, you know, why would you dump it here if you bought $1? Like, you know, it just feels like accumulation, and there's going to be like some massive move in it at some point. The volume keeps on going down, like the trading volume, which is a good sign in a sense, like as in, you know, people are buying and holding it. The holders, I'm not even sure if it's gone up, but it might have. Let me see, let me refresh that because I'm not too sure. So is that 9,384? I'm not going to go over the whole Sato thing again, like try and explain it to you guys, because I think I've done it. So hopefully the connection picks up in a minute. Yeah, the frames are dropping a lot. Bloody hell. We'll see what happens. That's what I like having are the Hyperliquid order book, Lighter's order book as well. But I'm using that for like more micro like transactions, and Derive, which is an options, a decentralized options exchange. Just to like, you know, get some data, which means basically the smell of a season. So at the moment, you know, you can see that the flames and the embers are going, so that means that there's going to potentially be like a sell-off, like, so there's more sells than buys at the moment. So with each different part of like a button, so like, you know, if I was to take a trade, for instance, it would actually change into like, you know, the trading screen, and then it would just be like hyper focused, like, you know, aim and all this stuff. So yeah, that's something I've been building at the moment. Another thing I was thinking about as well was these V4 hooks in it. So like, obviously, like Sato is a V4 hook. It's very like basic in its well, not really, but like, you know, it's basic in terms of its contract. Is that comes out, it tends to be that, you know, as soon as someone sees it, like, once again I go back to the UPEGs, you know, like the Uniswap unicorn pegs with the token and all of that stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out previous streams. In terms of that, like, as soon as that came out and it gained any sort of popularity, all of a sudden all these scammers came out and started releasing their own versions of it, with dodgy hooks in it, you know, like hooks that are going to scam you. So I was just like, oh, what can I do to combat that? Obviously, you know, you've got Cursor, you've got AI, you've got, what's it called, Claude, you've got all these things that you can use as tools to actually combat or to protect yourself from these people who are trying to take advantage of you. And I don't think anyone's realized it yet. But, you know, all of the stuff that is actually released is public. You know, it's on GitHub, it's released, it's out. So what you could actually do, right, is you could actually, let me just make sure my stream is right, because I'm not sure now. As soon as I started streaming, it just went dodgy. Sure this one's alright. Okay, so I don't think that's connected. This is perfect. I'm basically getting throttled, so I'm just talking to myself, which is annoying. How's Puffer looking? How's Puffer looking? I think I am streaming, but it's like very low. It's like 5 MPs. I don't know why it's doing that. It's so annoying. Erica, please try again later. Okay, so yeah, X is not. Looks like Twitch is fine, YouTube's fine. Pop-Fun's okay, but it's just delayed. Okay, yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so like this new narrative, like where I just feel like these scams are coming out. They're gonna come out instantly. So like Sato, as you can see, has come out. It's got a V4 hook that's novel. You can see if you actually look at the contract, that you know all the ownership or permissions are being revoked. The actual treasury where the token is being held, let's see, is currently there's like $4.2 million in the reserve. That money can't be touched either because permissions are revoked on that as well. So like you feel comfortable holding a token like this, you know what I mean? For the foreseeable. It's just what it is now is just kind of like the narrative of whether or not it's actually going to be a store of value. If people are going to consider it that. And you know the mint function is still there, but once they're all minted out, blah 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 blah, been through it already. But my main thing was just like, how do I protect myself from buying something that is basically a scam in it? So what happened a few days ago? Tell me if there's anything that could potentially be exploited, blah 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 blah. So Claude done its thing, and then it told me the exploits that it could have, like potentially. And you know, from there I was just like, right, I'm not going to touch it. Okay. So then, you know, 2 days go by, and what happens? The exact exploit that Claude told me about that potentially could happen actually happened, where like someone from the external of the hook was able to manipulate the treasury or the LP to liquidate people who held the loop token, staked it, and borrowed. So basically, you buy the loop token, you stake it, and then you can borrow from your stake to do other things, and then it's like it loops it, so like, you know, the interest basically pays off the loan, plus you earn like a bit on top. It sounds like a scam, but like, you know, there are looping things out there that you could do manually, but this was basically claiming that you could do it, you know, whenever you felt like, or like it would do it automatically, which wasn't true. So there was an external actor out there that actually did manipulate the liquidity provision, the LP, and yeah, basically liquidated everyone who had looped their loop in the contract, and they lost all their money. So they were just like, oh, you know, we can resolve this, and we're gonna move on to another contract. So anyone who's been exploited or anything that's happened, will just give you your money back 1-to-1. But what they didn't say was that at the time when the actual exploit happened, the price of the token was at $4.28. So when they done the 1-to-1 conversion, they gave it back to them at 4 cents. So the difference is gone. So those people basically lost their money in it. And like, how can you trust that contract again? You know, how can you trust that token again? But regardless, they're still going to go through with it and pretend it's like it's a slow rug now, isn't it? They're going to see if they can do it again. I'm not even going to double check the second contract to see if it's actually they've solved that problem, because to me, from what I read, it's a very difficult problem to solve. Unless you just revoke all access to the actual LP, and in a looping contract, you basically need the LP. You need access to the LP in some respects. So yeah, from that I learned that okay, you can ask Claude to you know, look at these smart contracts, but what if you were to actually just automate that whole function? So what I did was I, like, you know, took all the data from that, and I was like, right, let's build a hook, or let's build a search engine for these V4 hooks. So the first thing I did was, like, you know, analyze what a V4 hook is, or like where the contracts are and how they're released, and then I basically set to work at discovery. So if I go to like pre-flight, which is this thing I built briefly, and pre-flight is basically it analyzes hooks. So when a new hook comes out, it gives it a score. It tells you whether or not what the potential exploits could be, because there's no guarantee that these exploits could happen, but like the potential exploits. So you can see here, LIVO swap hook, verified source but dual delta return permissions, enable swap amount manipulation and output siphoning. So people can siphon the money out in some form. And now I could, like, go into the triage, the address here, and then find the smart contract and then do a deeper dive. But basically what I've done is create a ranking system for these new hooks, because they're going to be the new thing, I feel like. And it's a valuable tool to have. I basically just built this thing out in about 2 days. So yeah, it's constantly like, scanning and looking for new hooks that are released. And to be honest, like, I've sort of reset it now because I'll get into it. I found this new product or protocol that's going to be released. It's not out yet, and I basically done analysis on that. Went through all the docs. Well, me and Claude as a team went through all the docs, and we went through, like, potential pitfalls, why it's built this way, why it's done this, why it's done that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm teaching my Claude how to analyze smart contracts, new protocol builds, because the one I'm going to talk about now basically hasn't released or open sourced their smart contract yet. So what that means is that, I can only go by what the docs say. And to be honest, like, as popular as the person who built this is, and the fact that, they've dropped it and it is novel, and it seems like from the documentation that they're trying to be honest actors in this space, there are a few, like, caveats hidden in the wording of what they're doing that they're not admitting to in the documentation. Okay. And what I notice as well is, like, when someone drops a new product like this, it's called paper trade. When the people drop a new product like this, what tends to happen is the timeline goes, oh yeah, new products, blah 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 blah. The bigger names, like, you got Fred Guy in there talking about, yeah, I can't wait to use it. Looks good, guys. Congratulations on the raise, blah 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 blah. But no one actually looks at the docs and reads them and decides, like, is this a good product? Is it worthwhile me as a retail pleb with my $200 to risk a bit of capital to see if it's worth my time? And the only way you're going to know that is if you do go through the docs. So what I found is, instead of me reading through the docs myself, I've taught my Claude how to explain things to me the way I would understand them. Yeah, and anyone could do that. Like, everyone learns differently, everyone understands things differently. Okay, so what I've done is I've basically just gone to the documentation, and each page I've put it into Claude, and we've had a conversation about why they've decided to do things this way, why, like, how it all works. So there's gonna be a token attached to it. I'll just move to something else because I can see my computer. So I'll just so there's gonna be, like, a token called paper, and the way it works is that if you were to use this this protocol, it's a trading protocol with 1000x leverage. It says it there, 1000 up to, or it's just 1000x leverage trades. Zero market impact, 100% user owned, fully on chain on Hyperliquid. So it's like built on Hyperliquid Hype EVM, because they've got their own sort of like sub chain. The actual token on a peer-to-peer exchange or a decentralized exchange. So you'd have to, like, go there, trade. If you lose, then you would get a portion of the tokens. I think in the beginning there's like 2 million tokens, $2 million worth of tokens allocated, or 5 million. I think it goes up to 5 million, but it's 2 million in the beginning. And it all depends on how you trade. So, like, the idea, I think the way they built it, and from what I understand from what me and Claude have discussed, it sounds so weird that I say that, but I honestly do believe that, this Claude is my best teacher when it comes to this stuff, because I am honestly a retail player up to now. From what we've discussed and what it's talking about is that it doesn't want traders it doesn't want bots who are just going to be doing in and out trades, short time frame, like quant trades, in and out every second. When I tried to build out something called Whale-Scope a few months ago, just a side parallel street. When I was trying to build out something called Whale-Scope a few months ago, it was basically a mirror trading platform. So it was just like copy trade the mirror, the top, the most profitable traders on Hyperliquid. So in that way I had to do like a discovery JS, which basically means that I had to search Hyperliquid's addresses, find the most popular ones, and then log them, and then follow their trades to see what they were doing. And honestly, like I had a refresh function on there, so every day I would get on, it would be running, and I would like refresh the function, and it would always be the same addresses at the top, and they were basically just like these bots. It would always be the same addresses at the top, and they were basically just like these bots that would just trade in and out every few seconds, regardless of fees, regardless of whatever. They would just like spam Hyperliquid with transactions, but they were the most popular ones. I couldn't I couldn't get out of that tunnel of like these particular addresses. It was really frustrating. Yeah, so like it's prevalent in on-chain trading that there are people or like institutions, or maybe it's even Hyperliquid, I don't want to make any accusations, that are just running these bots that just spam transactions. It's like super annoying for someone who's trying to like scrape data basically. So yeah, it ended up being like I ended up just basically deleting the whole of this whale scope. It got too big, like they call it like tech bloat or whatever. It just got too big. And in the end, I think it was Codex or Claude basically put a placeholder in for all the code for this particular thing, and it just like I couldn't rebuild it, and it was just a nightmare. So I had to just leave it alone and try something else. So I've been mucking around Claude, like I've maybe got like 4 or 5 different projects going, all different types of things that I've always wanted to build in it. But something like this where you're like scanning a V4 hook, interesting. So anyway, going back to paper trade. So in regards to paper trade, they don't want those type of they don't want that type of price action. They don't want bots coming in and out. So if you were to say, oh, I'm just going to do a bot that's going to just spam it, and then that way I would just earn these paper tokens, there's actually like I don't want to call it a slashing mechanism, but you're not going to get as much tokens if you don't have a conviction trade. It's for high conviction trades. It's interesting the way they've structured it, because you've got 1,000x trades that could possibly go on. And then you've got 1 second. See if I can. Yeah, you've got 1,000x trades like going on. But how can you have a conviction trade on an 1,000x leverage trade? It's actually insane if you actually think about it. The tick by tick basis, like how you could get liquidated in terms of that, is actually insane. So like it is a bit of a worry. Try to actually not figure it out but how it would work. Sorry, I'm just checking it from live because like something cut off, and it's just being a bit of a nightmare. This is what happens when you run a VPN, man. You can't run a VPN and stream. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, going back to it. So they don't want those type of traders. They don't want people who are going to be in and out. They want people who are going to take long-term trade, or like you can do whatever you want. You can run a bot on there if you want, but you're not going to get the amount of paper that you're supposed to get for taking multiple trades. You'll get like a small amount each time, and it's going to be a cost to you because you only get it from losing trades, right? And then so basically they want swing traders, people who have like a long-term thesis, or they catch something and they hold it for a certain amount of time. I believe it's like 100 tokens per every penny added to the LP, something like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's how you earn the actual token from the protocol. Now when you actually get your paper tokens, you can actually stake them or like put them in the LP, and then you earn some of the rev. I believe it's like I'm going blank on it, but you do earn some of the rev. And then the time I think the LP actually fills out, which is about max 5 million, so you'd have 5 million in liquidity provision. All fees would go split between whoever's holding this token or staked it, from my understanding. All right, I need to reread it. Sorry guys, it's not the best explanation, but what I do know is that the only way for you to get this token, this paper token, is actually trade on there and lose in the first iteration, and it goes downwards as well, so like in a downwards fashion. So like the more LP there is, the less paper that's going to be issued out. I believe it's going to be like 120 million tokens by the numbers, something like that. I need to go. Do you know what? I can just bring it up. Let me just bring up Claude, and then I can actually tell you guys exactly what. Maybe even if I was just like, give me 10 highlights, I can explain or stream about this product. It's lazy. Yeah, give me 10 things I can talk about. Should have prepared this before, but I'm not going to pretend to you guys like I'm a fucking genius, you know. Talk about on stream. We got to. But the thing is, what my point is that, you know, if you don't want to get rugged, if you want to understand what exactly, sorry, I can't do two things at once. Paper trade. If you want to understand anything in this market, yeah, if you see a new product being shilled on the timeline, if you see, like, you know, a face you haven't seen before on the timeline, they're saying, oh, this new thing's come out, and you see the price is skyrocketing, don't rush in to buy it. Okay, what you do is you go to Dex Screener, you go to wherever your venue is, and you get the smart contract and you put it in Claude and you say, give me a full breakdown of what this thing does, what it is, are there any potential pitfalls, could I get rugged on it, you know, ask the questions, and it will give you the answer. You know, like, the worst thing about that loop situation is that I saw the exploit, and for someone like me, I could have done the exploit if I wanted to, if I had the capital. I could have done the exploit and just got away with, like, you know, a couple $100,000. Like, it's not as difficult as people think or as making it out to be. It's just laziness, I think, on in terms of, like, you know, the user. Like, the crypto user just assumes that everything is a fucking meme coin, and it's not. You know, like, there are people out there, bad actors, that are releasing, like, dodgy contracts, and they fully well know that, you know, they want to just rinse you out, like, and it's just the worst time to be in the market and not be willing to make the effort to even read docs. Like, read the docs, you know, like, even in terms of paper trade, right, there is, like, a caveat in there. I'm waiting for it to come back to me, but it's not going to come back anytime soon. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, 10 stream ready talking points mixed across. They did something clever, watch out for this, and here's what's hidden in plain sight. Okay, so the first thing it says, right, is that the 1000x leverage is mostly marketing theater. The protocol enforces 10 million per user notional cap, so 1000x only matters if you have less than 10k to trade with. Okay, so it's targeting smaller traders in terms of its 1000k, 1000x. Okay, the only way to be a liquidity provider is to lose money, which is true. I've already said that. I actually remembered that. There is literally no deposit function for on the LP. You can buy paper tokens on the market once they exist, or you can mint them by losing trades. So yeah, you have to trade and lose, and then you get paper token. Each paper token, I think at issuance or a mint, is at 1 cent. The 100 paper per $1 emission rate is mathematically chosen, not arbitrary. So every 100 paper per $1 emission rate is not chosen, not arbitrary. It's the unique ratio that keeps paper backing pegged to the exact 1 cent per token. Okay, total paper, right? So here's another thing. The total supply, I said it was 120 million. That was wrong. It's actually going to be 12 billion. Now, this is Claude, right? So it could be wrong, but they're saying that it's saying that, you know, the total emissions in the end, if it gets there, if it ever gets there, it's going to be 12 billion tokens. So you have to, you know, keep that in mind. So if you're thinking you've got 900 paper and you're going to be a millionaire because it's going to go to, you know, $20 or $100, it's not going to happen. Saying that, okay, this is a big one. I don't know, man. No one watches my streams anyway, so it doesn't matter. It says no trading fee. So, you know, according to Paper Trade, it says it on the screen. Zero market impact, zero user owned, fully on chain. In the docs, it says that there's no trading fees. Okay, it says so. Like, when you trade in and out, you don't actually pay anything. It says it's a clever lie. There are fees. They're just charged only on profitable closes via the asymmetric impact curve. Losers pay nothing extra. Winners pay a haircut. That's the steepest on small moves. So, like, if you, like I said, they don't want, like, smaller, you know, trades in and out, because if you do that, then there is a fee. Okay, bigger, longer trades, you're not going to be charged as much. What else? The 2% fee actually goes to stakers and the developers. So, like, there's a 2% staker fee. So when you stake, you get 2% of all the fees that come in. You know, if it kicks off really well, potentially, you know, that 2% could be massive, depending on the size of your position in the LP. And the only way you're going to get a substantial position in the LP is if you actually trade and lose, because that's the only way to get paper token. Yeah, and the dev cut was buried in a single parenthetical. I don't know what that means. None of the marketing pages mention a team revenue stream. It appears once in parenthetical inside the mid-curve technical docs. So if you were to look at the docs, in the mid-curve, technical docs, it says that yeah, it's the 2% fee is split between the dev and the staker, and there's no clarification on like what percentage of that 2% is the split. So like as the staker, you might get 20% of that 2%, and 80% of that 2% goes to the dev and the team. It doesn't say that. It's not clearly marked there. I went through every page, like Claude went through it. The white paper here is a exit escape valve. Paper trace chose not to deploy it. If you win a trade and the LP can't pay you, you join the FIFO queue indefinitely. So like, say for instance, there's a load of winning trades, and you're one of the winners. Potentially they don't pay you out immediately. You'll be put in a queue. But what they say is, and I haven't read this bit, I remember it, thank God. What they say is that you can still trade even though you're in the queue. So like you might have a winning amount there, and it says, okay, it's locked for now because we need to wait for other people to lose in order for you to get your money out. You can actually take those funds and still trade, but it doesn't reset your position in the queue to get your funds if you win. But if you lose, then it will reduce the amount that you have while you're standing in the queue. So you got a bag of apples, you're in the queue, and they're like, oh yeah, the queue's going to be 20 minutes, or it's going to be a month or a week, or an hour. You're like, okay, well, I'll just wait, or I'll take 2 apples and I go over there. I've lost those 2 apples, so you go back and you're in the queue still with 8 apples instead of 10. I don't know. The owner can rewrite the entire contract behind the 7-day public time lock. I'm not too sure about that because Claude said it made a mistake reading further into the docs, but the 7-day timing lock, the dev can basically change the fees, the way things work in certain aspects. Let me read that fully. The contracts are proxied. Any owner action, fee changes, parameter tweaks, full contract replacement is queued publicly for 7 days before it can execute. That's actually a reasonable safety mechanism if you're watching the upgrade queue. Most users won't be. Decentralized applies to the read paths, not the configuration. Okay. The protocol survives or fails on perpetual losing flow. So the only way that this thing really works is if people continually lose, which is basically the same with any exchange. Like Hyperliquid would be what it is without losers, and most people who trade on leverage tend to be losers. Martingale is a deliberate pun for Martingale, the gambling strategy that requires infinite blank roll to be sustainable. Same logic here. If retail traders ever get better in aggregate or trading volume drops substantially, the queue grows unbound. So yeah, so like if people start winning more and more, basically the queue gets larger. Bonus, quick hits if you want backup material. The pause mechanism freezes BBO at the moment of pause, so existing positions can still exit at the same price. Best pause design I've seen documented. One Hyperliquid address is simultaneously a core spot and EVM contract. The 0.2 bips deadbed is the first Oracle manipulation defense layer, and they don't really mention it in the marketing. It just quietly zeroes out some spread profits. Okay, so like there are like loads of things that you see this fancy screen, you'll see like trade coming soon, and you think, okay, I'll get involved. But what you need to understand in terms of this new trading platform, it's interesting in the way it's built. It's totally different from anything I've seen, but at the same time, it's built for you to lose. Yeah, you will get paper. Yeah, you can stake your paper. Yeah, you could get some of the fees, or you could earn some of the trading fees because you're providing liquidity to the LP via paper, I believe, or it could just be a governance token. Who knows? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who takes it up and who doesn't. Bigger traders, like, so say like you've got $10,000 for instance, and I say bigger, but like I know there's massive size traders out there. But if you've got $10,000 and you decide to trade on this thing and lose in the beginning, just bear in mind that you're better off like holding that trade until you lose. Like, don't be like in and out, because you won't make as much paper as you should trading that way. So yeah, that's paper trade. I think it's quite an interesting protocol. I think the dev has done a fantastic job building it out. But just be vigilant of like the caveats in it. And like I said, if you don't believe me, copy and paste the docs into Claude. Have it explain it to you in a manageable way where you understand what it's saying. Because what I find with docs when I've read them in the past, it's like a lot of technical jargon, maths, and all these other things, and it's just like, okay, like my brain doesn't process this. Just like give it to me in a different way. So yeah, that's an example. And then from there, right? So there's like, tenfold benefits to AI. And that, like, this is supposed to be crypto, isn't it? Like, and it is crypto. We can put it on the chart. There you go. I'll be like the rest of the guys on Twitch, innit? Like the rest of the guys on Twitch are on the pump fun screen and they're just like clicking mouses, playing funky music, whatever. I've tried to watch it. I just can't. I'm not impressed. I look scary. Thank God. Um, yeah, I'm not like, the streamers on Twitch at the moment. It's just like, oh my God, they're all on pump fun, still waiting for the meme coin cycle to come back, and it's just like it's not coming back. But who am I to say anything? Maybe it does. Um, yeah, the idea of Claude and like crypto, it works in twofold, right? So here's the thing. So I've just copied and pasted like all the docs from Papertrade into Claude and asked it to analyze it for me and break it down for me so I understand how it works. But then you can take learnings from that and you can develop things. So like you could turn that into a skill. Like, you could take that stuff and be like, okay, well, I'm building a V4 hook, for instance. I can take some of that information that I've learned from this and I can apply it to the V4 hook in a different way. And you can continually compound on that. So you could have like multiple facets or different V4 hooks or different smart contract designs analyzed, looked at, take out certain bits and just put it all together. And obviously it's going to get complicated the more you compound things. But I feel like, and I've said it before, like a V4 hook is like a dumb contract built, like plugged into a smart contract. So we all know what a smart contract is, isn't it? But like a dumb contract, like, the V4 hook could really have some novel things. Now, what I'm curious about, and a question that I couldn't, was keeping me up last night, was that can you have multiple hooks plugged into one smart contract? Or am I thinking about it completely wrong? Is it just like a V4 hook is a V4 hook, so like I'm struggling to, like, in my mind, see how it's shaped. Like I can visualize what a blockchain looks like, and I know, like, all the people out there, the youngers, they don't care about this stuff, but I can see what a blockchain looks like, and I've been able to describe it to people who not interested in knowing what a blockchain is. But I can describe it in the sense of a tree or like whatever else. But the hooks is like, yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. So like all of these things, for instance, if I go back to pre-flight, all of these hooks, I can take these, like, these addresses, put them into Etherscan, get the contract addresses, see what they've built. Most of them haven't built anything. Take learnings from it. Or like, take bits out that I like. Even in terms of the score, like, this data that I'm taking from all these new launches, they're all scams basically. I can compound that into like a hook that basically flags, or like some sort of like thing that flags, like I'm doing for myself now that I'm running locally, that flags like dodgy hooks basically. Some maybe like num loans hook, unverified source, suspicious name, after swap permission enables value siphoning. So like all of them, it gives me a nice little breakdown of all the dodgy hooks that are out there, free hooks, and a score. I've seen maybe one or two scores above like 70, and then I've taken a look at them, but there's nothing really there for me to be like, okay, that's cool. So like, yeah, there's loads of cool. Right, it's a bear market, isn't it? What are you doing in the Twitch streamer? Are you like looking to entry to build something cool? Has never been lower. That's what I'm gonna say there. Listen, my connection's really bad. I might do another stream during the day tomorrow and just go over everything again, because it keeps on getting cut off and it's really annoying. I don't know why it's like that. Maybe it's the time of night. Maybe everyone around me is using my connection. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna play you out. So that's what I'll be doing. Sato looks good here. Looks like he wants to run. God willing, it does. But see what happens. Moving update. I'm super proud of my my old app here. Looks cool. I'm going to continue to build on it. Like, there's going to be like the V4 hook function is currently on like pre-flight. So this will be integrated into like Petrichor, and yeah, Paper Trade. And when it comes out, and obviously